Welcome to Whisper and Learn channel. In today's video, we'll dive into another engaging story to help you improve your English listening skills while enjoying a relaxing and stress-free experience. Each story is crafted to teach practical vocabulary, enhance your comprehension, and provide meaningful life lessons. So grab your headphones, relax, and let's begin.
Amara Jones stood in the middle of her one-bedroom apartment, her arms crossed tightly against her chest. The room was a disaster, filled with half-packed boxes and the echoes of her recent eviction notice. Her dreams of owning a business seemed farther away than ever. With no savings, no stable job, and a mountain of debt, she felt like the world was caving in. She'd always dreamed of creating something meaningful. A natural-born baker, Amara spent her childhood watching her grandmother mix, knead, and create pastries that seemed to heal hearts. Her grandmother's kitchen was her sanctuary. Amara longed to honor that legacy, but life had dealt her a different hand. Her corporate job at a marketing firm had consumed her days, leaving no time or energy for her passion. When she was laid off during a wave of cutbacks, everything spiraled out of control. Amara's phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was her best friend, Nina. "Hey, how are you holding up?" Nina asked, her voice full of concern. Amara sighed. "I'm trying, but it's hard. I feel like I've hit rock bottom." "Maybe this is your chance," Nina said. "You've always talked about starting your bakery. Why not now?" "Because I don't have anything," Amara replied bitterly. "No money, no space, nothing." "You have your talent," Nina said firmly, "and you have me. Let's figure this out together." Nina's encouragement planted a seed in Amara's mind. That evening, she opened her grandmother's old recipe book. The pages were worn, the handwriting faded, but the memories came flooding back. Her grandmother's secret cinnamon rolls, her signature lemon tarts, the chocolate croissants that melted in your mouth. Amara could almost smell the butter and sugar, the warm hum of her grandmother's voice filling her thoughts. As the hours passed, Amara found herself lost in the process. She tied on an old flour-dusted apron and began gathering ingredients from her modest pantry. She didn't have everything she needed, but she improvised. Instead of fresh cream, she used the last carton of milk in her fridge. Instead of premium chocolate, she chopped up a half-melted bar she'd forgotten about in the back of a cabinet. Still, her hands moved with precision, muscle memory guiding her through each step. By midnight, her small apartment kitchen looked like a scene from a baking show gone awry. Flour coated the counters, smudged her cheeks, and dusted the air like snow. Bowls of batter sat on every available surface, and trays of pastries were lined up, waiting for their turn in her small oven. She didn't stop to think about the mess or the late hour. For the first time in months, Amara felt alive. When the first batch came out of the oven, golden and glistening with melted butter, she couldn't resist taking a bite. The warm sweetness of her grandmother's cinnamon roll recipe brought tears to her eyes. She laughed at herself, wiping her face with the corner of her apron, and took a picture of the tray to capture the moment. As dawn broke, Amara's kitchen was filled with trays of pastries, flaky croissants, tangy lemon tarts, and rows of perfectly swirled cinnamon rolls. Her phone sat on the counter, untouched for hours. Finally, she snapped a few photos of the final spread, carefully arranging the pastries to look their best. She uploaded them to her social media accounts with a caption that read, "Sometimes life crumbles around you, but in the kitchen, crumbles are just the start of something sweet. This is my first step toward a dream, a bakery that celebrates love, resilience, and my grandmother's recipes. What do you think?" The response was immediate and overwhelming. Her notifications buzzed incessantly as comments and messages poured in. Friends and acquaintances raved about how delicious everything looked. "Do you sell these?" asked one former coworker. "Can I order a dozen?" another friend inquired. A distant cousin even wrote, "I need these for my party next week." Amara's heart raced as she read each message. For the first time in months, the dark cloud of self-doubt lifted. People believed in her talent. Maybe Nina was right. Maybe this was her chance. Fueled by the outpouring of support, Amara decided to turn her apartment into a makeshift bakery. Nina arrived the next day with supplies, extra mixing bowls, a rolling pin, and even a box of bakery boxes she'd found online. Together, they brainstormed a name for the business. After hours of tossing around ideas, they settled on Grandma's Touch as a tribute to the woman who had inspired it all. Amara designed a simple logo using free design software, featuring an outline of her grandmother's hands holding a whisk. Nina, ever the cheerleader, spread the word on social media and among her friends and family. Within days, Amara received her first official order, a tray of assorted pastries for a baby shower. The client was a former coworker who'd seen the photos online. Amara threw herself into the work, pouring her heart into every detail. She woke up at 4 a.m. to start baking, ensuring the croissants were perfectly flaky and the icing on the cookies was hand-piped with care. By the time she delivered the order, she was exhausted but proud. The client's reaction made it all worth it. "These are incredible," she gushed. "Everyone at the shower will love them." Word spread quickly. Amara's phone buzzed nonstop with new requests: a birthday party, a small wedding, even a last-minute brunch. She worked tirelessly, but the challenges were immediate. Her tiny oven could only bake a few trays at a time, and she frequently ran out of storage space. At one point, she resorted to using her bedroom closet to store cooling racks of cookies. Her neighbors were less enthusiastic about her new venture. The constant smell of butter and sugar wafting through the halls initially seemed charming, but frequent delivery drivers, early morning noise, and the perpetual hum of activity began to wear on them. She overheard whispered complaints in the hallway and found anonymous notes taped to her door asking her to take the bakery somewhere else. Still, Amara refused to give up. Nina stepped in again with practical solutions. "We need to streamline this," she said one evening, flipping through a stack of Amara's handwritten orders. Together they created a proper system: online ordering forms, a fixed weekly menu, and designated pickup times. It helped, but the strain on her little apartment remained. One night, as Amara stayed up late prepping an order, her landlord called. "Amara, I've gotten too many complaints," he said, his tone apologetic but firm. "You can't keep running this business from your apartment." Her heart sank. She hung up the phone, her mind racing. Was this the end? But as she looked at the trays of pastries surrounding her, she felt a spark of determination. She had come too far to quit now. The next morning, Amara reached out to Nina. "I need a new space," she said, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "Let's figure it out." Nina's response was immediate. "I've already been looking. There's a shared commercial kitchen downtown. It's small, but it might be perfect for now." Amara visited the space later that day. It wasn't glamorous, a simple industrial kitchen with stainless steel counters and basic equipment, but it was enough. She signed the lease that afternoon, officially moving Grandma's touch into its first real home. The transition wasn't easy. Amara had to adjust to the new setup and navigate unfamiliar licensing requirements. But the new space allowed her to bake more efficiently, experiment with larger orders, and focus on building her brand. Her loyal customers followed her, and word of her business continued to spread. By the end of the first month, Amara realized she'd taken the most important step of all, believing in herself enough to keep moving forward, even when the odds seemed stacked against her. But securing a proper bakery space seemed impossible. Rent was sky high, and Amara's credit was less than stellar. Banks turned her down for loans, and her savings barely covered her living expenses. Every day seemed to present a new obstacle. Amara felt trapped in a cycle of ambition and frustration. The harder she tried, the more unattainable her dream felt. One evening, surrounded by unpaid bills and the faint hum of her neighbors' conversations through thin walls, Amara dialed Nina's number. "I don't think I can do this," she said, her voice breaking. "It feels like every step forward comes with 2 steps back." Nina's response was immediate and steady, like a lifeline. "Do you remember why you started?" she asked. "You wanted to honor your grandmother and share her legacy. Don't let fear stop you. Let's think outside the box." Amara clung to Nina's words, and together they began to brainstorm unconventional solutions. Nina suggested attending local business networking groups and entrepreneurial workshops to meet others who had faced similar challenges. Though hesitant at first, Amara decided to take the leap. The first workshop Amara attended was a whirlwind of ideas and energy. It was hosted in a small co-working space downtown, where a panel of local business owners shared their stories of overcoming adversity. One woman, a florist who had started her business from a tiny cart in the park, resonated deeply with Amara. "I started with nothing but a handful of seeds and a dream," the florist had said. "Every small step matters, even when the path feels impossible." Inspired, Amara introduced herself after the panel. She described her situation and aspirations, and the florist offered a piece of advice that stuck with her. "Find your people. There's power in community." Amara followed this advice and began attending more networking events. She joined a Facebook group for local food entrepreneurs and connected with other small business owners. Through these interactions, she discovered a wealth of resources she hadn't known existed, including mentorship programs and funding opportunities. It was during one of these meetings that she learned about a local incubator program for small food businesses. The program offered shared kitchen space for entrepreneurs who couldn't afford their own facilities. It wasn't perfect. The hours were limited, and the equipment wasn't state-of-the-art, but it was affordable and came with the added bonus of networking with like-minded individuals. Amara applied immediately, and to her relief, she was accepted. The first time Amara stepped into the shared kitchen, she felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. The space was industrial and bustling, filled with the sounds of clattering pans and whirring mixers. Other bakers and chefs worked diligently at their stations, each focused on their own creations. It was intimidating, but also invigorating. For the first time, Amara felt like she was part of something bigger. Working in the shared kitchen came with its own set of challenges. The schedule was tight, and Amara often found herself baking during odd hours, sometimes late at night or before dawn. She had to adapt to the quirks of unfamiliar equipment and learn to manage her time efficiently. But despite the hurdles, the benefits were undeniable. She could now bake in larger quantities and experiment with new recipes without worrying about space constraints. The connections she made in the kitchen were equally valuable. Fellow entrepreneurs shared tips, resources, and encouragement. One evening, a caterer named Luis offered to partner with her on an upcoming event. "I need desserts for a wedding," he said. "Your pastries would be perfect. We can split the profits." The collaboration was a success, and it brought Amara her biggest order yet. The exposure from the wedding led to inquiries from other caterers and event planners, giving her business a much-needed boost. As Amara's business gained momentum, she began to see the fruits of her labor. Her social media following grew, and loyal customers spread the word about Grandma's touch. She added new items to her menu, including seasonal treats and custom cakes. One day, a local food blogger visited the shared kitchen and sampled her pastries. Impressed, he featured her story on his blog. The article, titled "Sweet Success: How One Woman Turned Passion into a Thriving Business," went viral within the community. Orders poured in, and Amara found herself busier than ever. Despite the growing workload, Amara maintained her commitment to quality. Every pastry she baked carried the love and care she had learned from her grandmother. She often stayed late into the night, perfecting recipes and brainstorming ways to improve her operations. Nina remained her biggest cheerleader, often reminding her to celebrate small wins. "Look at how far you've come," she said one evening over coffee. "You've built something beautiful, Amara. Don't lose sight of that." Amara's journey was far from smooth, but each challenge she faced only strengthened her resolve. The shared kitchen was a stepping stone, but she knew it wasn't a permanent solution. She began saving every penny she could, dreaming of the day she'd have her own bakery. Her persistence paid off when a small investor took interest in her story. After months of discussions and planning, she secured enough funding to lease a modest storefront in a bustling neighborhood. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. As Amara stood in the empty space for the first time, she felt a surge of pride and gratitude. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had brought her here, to the brink of something extraordinary. With the support of her community and the lessons she'd learned along the way, she was ready to build her dream. The shared kitchen was a game changer. Amara could now bake larger quantities without worrying about space or equipment. The program also connected her with other aspiring food entrepreneurs, creating a supportive network. She expanded her menu to include seasonal items and customized treats for events. Her social media following grew, and customers began tagging her in posts, sharing glowing reviews. She collaborated with local coffee shops to sell her pastries, which brought in steady income and increased her visibility. Just as things seemed to be falling into place, disaster struck. A health inspection at the shared kitchen uncovered issues unrelated to Amara's operation, but the facility was temporarily shut down. With no place to bake, Amara faced the risk of losing her hard-earned momentum. She was devastated, but refused to give up. Amara reached out to every contact she'd made, explaining her situation. A local restaurant owner, impressed by her resilience, offered her use of their kitchen during off hours. It was a lifeline, and Amara seized it. Working late into the night, she fulfilled her orders and kept her customers happy. Her determination caught the attention of a local investor who approached her with an offer to help fund a permanent bakery space. For the first time, Amara saw a glimmer of a sustainable future. With the investor's support, Amara found a small storefront in a bustling neighborhood. The space was far from perfect, with peeling paint and outdated fixtures, but it had potential. She poured every ounce of energy into transforming it into Grandma's Touch, a warm, inviting bakery that felt like stepping into her grandmother's kitchen. Nina and other friends volunteered to help with renovations, painting walls, assembling furniture, and decorating the space. Amara designed the menu board herself using chalk and her grandmother's handwriting as inspiration. Every detail reflected her journey and the love she poured into her work. On a sunny spring morning, Grandma's Touch opened its doors. The line stretched down the block with loyal customers and curious newcomers eager to taste Amara's creations. The bakery's interior buzzed with laughter and the scent of fresh pastries. Amara's grandmother's recipe book sat in a glass case near the counter, a tribute to the woman who had inspired it all. Nina stood by her side, beaming with pride. "You did it," Nina said, hugging her. "You turned your dream into reality." Tears filled Amara's eyes as she looked around. "We did it," she replied. Amara's journey wasn't just about building a business. It was about rediscovering her strength and resilience. She learned that failure wasn't the end, but an opportunity to grow. By leaning on her community and believing in herself, she turned her passion into a thriving empire. Years later, Grandma's Touch became a staple in the community, known not just for its delicious pastries, but for its heartwarming story. Amara often shared her experiences with aspiring entrepreneurs, reminding them of the lesson that had carried her through. When life crumbles around you, don't be afraid to rebuild. Sometimes, starting from scratch is the best way to create something beautiful.
Thank you for listening to this story on Whisper and Learn channel. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable today. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that make learning English fun and effective. Let us know in the comments what you think of this story or what topics you'd like to hear next. See you in the next video. Happy learning!